If you've ever heard of Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, you already know it's like a wake-up call. Money doesn't just come from a paycheck. It comes from how you see it and how you use it. But Kiyosaki didn't stop there. He went on to create another powerful framework, the Cashflow Quadrant. This map shows why some people work hard their entire lives, while others gradually move toward financial freedom. The interesting part is, most people don't even realize they're standing in one of those quadrants. The way you earn money, how you spend your time, and even how you think about risk, all of it is reflected in this quadrant. So the real question is, which corner of the financial map are you in? And if you want to break free from the cycle of never enough, where do you need to move? Let's dive in and find out. And if you find this video helpful, don't forget to hit like and subscribe so you won't miss future book summaries on financial freedom and new ways of thinking about money here on my channel. Part 1, E, Employee. In the cash flow quadrant, the letter E stands for employee, the largest group in society, people who work for a paycheck. For most of us, this is where the financial journey begins. It sounds straightforward, but it actually hides a lot of paradoxes. A typical employee trades time and effort for a fixed salary. On the surface, this looks safe. Every 2 weeks or at the end of the month, you get your paycheck. The company covers health insurance, a 401k, retirement plan, a few weeks of vacation, and maybe even a year-end bonus. Americans grow up in a system where having a stable job is seen as part of the American dream. Yet, Kiyosaki warns that this so-called security is just an illusion. Your livelihood depends on decisions made by your boss or your company, not by you. Think back to the Great Recession of 2008. When the housing bubble burst, millions of Americans lost their jobs in just a few months. People who once believed a job at a bank, a car manufacturer, or a big insurance firm meant guaranteed security suddenly found themselves unemployed, unable to pay their mortgages, and lining up for unemployment checks. The same thing happened again in 2020, when the pandemic forced businesses to shut down. Thousands of hotel workers, restaurant staff, and airline employees were let go with just one email or phone call. Even in industries that seem rock solid, employees can escape risk. A software engineer in Silicon Valley might earn $150,000 a year, but if the company restructures, that position can disappear overnight. Healthcare, once considered stable, saw countless nurses and doctors burn out and leave the profession after the pandemic. These stories prove one thing: a salary isn't real security, it's dependency. But there is an even deeper limit: time. No matter how hard you work, you only have 24 hours in a day. An employee's income is tied directly to the hours they put in. A promotion might mean more money, but it also brings heavier responsibilities and higher stress. Many Americans fall into the cycle of work more, spend more, still feel short. They grind through the week only to wait for payday as if it were a lifeline. Picture this: a 40-year-old office worker, loyal to the same company for 20 years. He pays his mortgage each month, saves for his kids' college, and sets aside a little for retirement. But if the company suddenly downsizes, his entire life plan collapses. Decades of loyalty and late nights at the office vanish in an instant. Robert Kiyosaki doesn't dismiss the employee quadrant. He admits it can be an important starting point, a place to gain skills, build discipline, and accumulate initial savings. But if you stop here, you'll always be working for someone else's dream. You're helping build the owner's vision, while your own dreams get left behind. That's the harsh truth of the E quadrant. Security on the surface, hidden risks underneath. If you're not careful, you could wake up after 30 years of hard work and realize you've spent your entire life trading time for just enough money to survive, without ever touching true freedom.
Part 2, S, Self-employed. If the E, employee group, relies on the surface-level security a company provides, then the S, self-employed group, takes a completely different path. They want control over everything. These are the people who tell themselves, "I don't want anyone paying me a salary. I want to earn money through my own effort and skills." The self-employed can be lawyers, doctors, dentists, architects, barbers, mechanics, or even freelancers in writing, design, and online marketing. They take pride in not answering to a boss. Their income flows directly from their skills and reputation. At first glance, this sounds appealing. In America, the image of someone running their own small business, from a pizza shop in New York, to a food truck in Los Angeles, to a nail salon in Houston, has always been tied to the dream of independence. Making your own decisions, working your own way, and keeping the full reward of your labor, that's the allure of the S quadrant. But Robert Kiyosaki emphasizes that the self-employed are not as free as they appear. In fact, they're often the hardest working people of all. Because when you are self-employed, you are the business. Without you, the income disappears. Take the example of a dentist in California. He might earn several $100,000 a year, but if he gets into an accident and has to take a few months off, his cash flow nearly stops overnight. A well-known lawyer may bill hundreds of dollars an hour, but that also means as long as they must keep working to build clients, their income only exists while they do. Kiyosaki calls this the trap of the more I work, the more I have. People in the S quadrant often fall into perfectionism. They don't trust anyone to do the job as well as they can, so they try to do everything themselves. A small restaurant owner in Texas might buy the ingredients, cook in the kitchen, serve at the counter, and handle the bookkeeping. They think they're the boss, but in reality, they've become a slave to their own business. The bigger problem is that self-employed people frequently trade health and time for higher income. Many doctors in the US work 60 to 70 hours a week under immense stress. A freelance marketer in New York might out-earn an office worker, but still lives at the mercy of deadlines and demanding clients every single day. Compared to employees, the self-employed have more control but still lack true freedom. Because as long as you must personally put in the effort to generate money, you're still caught in the cycle of time equals money. Of course, the S quadrant is a step forward from E. Here, people learn responsibility, self-discipline, and independence. It can be a valuable stage for building resilience and business skills. But if you stop here, your financial foundation remains fragile, because at the core, your income still depends entirely on you. Kiyosaki stresses that the real transformation only happens when you move beyond both E and S, when your income is no longer limited by the hours you can work. And to get there, you need to step into the other side of the quadrant, B and I. Part 3. B. Business Owner. When you step into the B, Business Owner quadrant, the rules of the game change completely. If in the S quadrant you work in your business, then in the B quadrant, you build a system so the business works for you. That's the key difference. You're no longer doing everything yourself. You create a machine that runs whether you're there or not. Robert Kiyosaki explains it clearly. People in the B quadrant don't personally fix patients' teeth, ring up every customer at the counter, or bill clients by the hour. Instead, they design a structure, a team, a process, and a system that allows other people to do the work while they focus on strategy and vision. Take a simple example. In America, there are two types of pizza shop owners. One is the small business owner in Brooklyn, kneading dough by hand, working the oven every night, serving customers, and balancing the books. That's the S quadrant. If he takes a week off, the shop might have to shut down. The other type is the founder of Domino's or Papa John's. They don't make every pizza themselves. Instead, they build a brand, create standardized recipes, launch a franchise model, and let tens of thousands of managers and employees run the operations. That's the B quadrant. The system works independently, and even if the owner takes a month-long vacation in Hawaii, the cash keeps flowing in. You can see the same contrast in healthcare. A skilled doctor running a small private clinic remains in the S quadrant. But if that same doctor creates a chain of clinics, hires other physicians, builds a brand, and sets up systems that run without him, he has stepped into the B quadrant. Americans often admire tech entrepreneurs like Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk. Bezos doesn't pack every Amazon box. Musk doesn't personally solder chips into Tesla cars. They act as system builders, architects of massive operations, while tens of thousands of engineers and workers keep things moving. That's the B mindset. Build for scale. The crucial point is this: business owners escape the time trap. Their income is no longer tied to how many hours they personally work. Instead, they can focus on improving systems, expanding reach, and creating value for millions of people. That's why income in the B quadrant has virtually no ceiling, because systems can scale infinitely. Of course, moving into the B quadrant isn't easy. It requires trust, delegation, and leadership. Many self-employed people fail to transition because they can't let go of the belief, no one can do it as well as I can. I need to control everything. But the truth is, if you want to step away from working in the business and actually build one, you must let others take over and accept that the system, not you, is the center. Kiyosaki emphasizes this point. The B quadrant is where people finally get close to true financial freedom, because when you own a profitable system that doesn't rely on your direct labor, you've stepped through the doorway that employees and self-employed individuals can never reach.
Part 4. I, Investor. If the B, Business Owner Quadrant, is about building systems that generate income while you sleep, then the I, Investor Quadrant is the highest level, where money multiplies by itself. This is where your assets don't just sit idle, they become invisible employees, working 24/7, never complaining, never asking for vacation, and never getting tired. Robert Kiyosaki calls the I quadrant the land of true freedom. Once your investments are large enough, you don't need to sell your time or manage employees in systems day to day. All you need to do is make the right decisions. Your money will take care of the rest. Look around America, and you'll see the contrast. Middle-class parents who spend a lifetime working and saving from their paychecks often retire worried, asking, will we have enough to last? Meanwhile, others who learned early to put their money to work invested in stocks, bonds, rental properties, and index funds. By retirement, they live off passive income, rental checks, dividends, and investment returns. Imagine owning a 20-unit apartment building in Texas. Every month, dozens of tenants pay rent, creating a steady cash flow for you without you having to trade hours for dollars. Or think about Wall Street investors who buy shares of Apple, Microsoft, or Nvidia. They let the innovation and creativity of tens of thousands of engineers worldwide multiply the value of their wealth. But Kiyosaki also warns, the I quadrant isn't a paradise for the lazy. Wise investing requires knowledge, discipline, and emotional control. The US financial markets are full of temptations, hot stocks, meme trades, and volatile crypto. True investors don't chase the crowd. They focus on value, practice patience, and play the long game. Here's a key distinction. Real investors buy control, not just products. A worker buys a single house to live in. An investor buys 10 houses to rent out. The average person might throw a few $100s into stocks for fun. A serious investor puts in millions to gain board seats and help shape the direction of an entire company. At this level, money doesn't just serve you, it creates influence. Major investors can shape industries, guide technology, and even impact the entire economy. Warren Buffett isn't just wealthy because he holds shares. Markets move simply because of what he says. The exciting part is, anyone can begin entering the I quadrant. You don't need to be a millionaire. A 401k, a Vanguard index fund, or even a single rental property, these are all first steps into the freedom zone. Kiyosaki reminds us, the real question isn't how much money you have right now. The question is whether you've chosen the path of the I quadrant. Because only here can you truly escape the cycle of work, spend, worry, and move into a new level of life, living with the freedom that money itself creates. Part 5. Conclusion and final message. We all have only 24 hours in a day. The difference isn't how hard you work, but how you use your time, build processes, and create systems or teams that can generate money even while you sleep. This is the core message Robert Kiyosaki wants to deliver. If you rely solely on your own labor, you'll always be limited. But if you learn how to make money, systems, and people work for you, financial freedom becomes only a matter of time. Warren Buffett, one of the greatest investors of all time, once said, "If you don't find a way to make money while you sleep, you will work until you die." This isn't meant to scare you, but to wake you up.
Time is the fairest asset we all share, yet only those who know how to leverage it will ever achieve true freedom. So, the final lesson from Cashflow Quadrant is: take a step back and ask yourself, which quadrant are you in today? And more importantly, where do you want to be in the next 5 or 10 years? Start small. Set aside a portion of your income to invest. Learn how to manage money and build streams of passive income, because every journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. You don't need to become Warren Buffett, but if you know how to make money work for you, one day you'll wake up truly free, not because you're richer than everyone else, but because you have complete control over how you choose to live. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe so you won't miss more content on books, finance, and personal freedom.